of this wonderful, joyous morning together, Paulo. Paulo, I know it's morning where you are as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 11 a.m. your time?
It's 11 a.m. my time here in
Very good. Very good. It
Brazil.
is 9 a.m. here in the central US time zone. We've got a few people joining us this morning. Before we get too far into this morning with Paulo, I do want to really quickly apologize to our audience and of course our fellow co-author Marcus. There was a technology outage last week communicating between Zoom and Facebook Live. As you can see, it's working well this morning, but unfortunately didn't work so well last week. So we will be rescheduling Marcus's interview. But without further ado, today is about Paulo. Paulo, welcome. For those of you that may not know too much about Paulo, Paulo is one of our co-authors. He resides in the wonderful country of Brazil, which I'm sure he would love to talk more about. But when we think about Paulo, as is no surprise to any of you, we refer to him as the Hat Man. Now, you look at him if you're on Facebook Live right now, or if you're watching this later on YouTube, you certainly know why. He's always got a hat on that head of his, but he also always reminds us about the importance of processes and every component in them. One of his famous components, of course, is the hat, and it is important that he always has that hat on his head. We've asked him many times to show us what's under the hat, and usually we get a screen full of hats.
Sure.
So yeah, just like that. That's what we usually get. So thank you, Paulo. Thank you for being with us. In addition to his hat, he loves to travel, and he loves to especially travel in nature. So without further ado, Paulo, anything else you want to add to your brief introduction this morning?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Vince. You know, you're one of the co-authors also, but you've been doing a great work with this interview. So thank you very much. It's, you know, you are my oldest friend, international friend. Again, I don't mean by age, I mean the one I know for longer. Okay, yes. And it's a huge pleasure to be here with you.
I was just sharing with a new colleague of mine, which I'll be sharing a lot about later. I was sharing with a new colleague of mine this morning that I was interviewing you and how far back we go with my trip to Brazil for the first national conference. And Paulo, you have a national conference coming up for BNI Brazil in just a couple of months. How many is that now?
It's in June 18 and 19. That will be our national conference. And we are going to have a spot to talk about the book.
Yes, we are.
Conference.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Well, Paulo, let's get started with our interview today. Of course, for our listeners, they might know you as an experienced trainer, a keynote speaker. Of course, you also have authored another book with another co-author called The Networking Quotient. But today, we're going to really focus in on your chapter in ENTRE-Preneur-Ship. And of course, that chapter, for those of you that have the book in front of you, is called The Efficiency Machine, the Potential, the Restart, and the Wise Man. So, Paulo, let's start by just giving our listeners and live viewers a little bit of a story or reference about the chapter. Of course, not the whole chapter. We want them to read the book, but share with our listeners something about the particular chapter in our book.
Yeah, when I wrote my chapter, I was thinking about what could I say to my younger self that he should learn to become a good entrepreneur. Okay, so I remembered 4 moments in my life where I learned valuable lessons, and I put that in my chapter. And the first chapter is the efficiency machine, where I learned a great lesson from a colleague in a company I was working on. It's the largest supermarket chain here in Brazil. Okay, and I started working as an assistant to the general manager. And the guy asked me to create a new report he needed. And he told me, you know, you go to the other building and talk to this guy called Eduardo, and he's going to give you the data you need. Okay. So yeah, I went there. I was the brand new assistant. I wanted to show some work quickly. And I got there and I said, are you Eduardo? I need this data. Okay. And the guy came to me and said, who are you? I said, I'm Paulo. I'm the general manager and assistant. Do you have the data? And he said, who the hell do you think you are to storm into my room and ask for something? I don't even know who you are. We've never met before. What the hell do you think you're doing? And that came to me as a bomb in my mind, okay? Why? I was taught in college, you need to be an efficiency machine. You need to do things quickly, you need to do it right, you need to do it fast, you need to do it now. So they never told me I had to deal with people to do that. I was never told. So that was a big lesson I learned from the guy. He came to me and said, look, I know, I understand what's going on here. Okay, but you need to learn something. You are dealing with people. If you ask me for the data, yes, I have the data. But if you and I have a relationship and become even good colleagues or maybe even friends, I can help you with your report. And there's a big difference. So first big lesson learned, and everybody that wants to become an entrepreneur needs to learn. You're going to deal with people. You need to learn how to live, how to coexist. You need to learn how to lead. You need to like people to lead. That's one of the things I put there.
Well, and like everything, Paulo, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, as we would say. You have the side that we build friendships and we want to help people, and we have the side that we build friendships and we don't always want to hold those people accountable because they're our friends. We don't want to offend them, or we do more for people that we know, like, and trust. So the relationship piece is so important in everything. But when you've never dealt with people before, you've learned a process, but not a people process or a process with people, it's a totally different ballgame. It's a totally different scenario. And, we've heard it before, we've said it before. These are things that just plain aren't learned, in college, in education, post-primary, secondary, and beyond education. But it's really important because you have to learn how to deal with people, work with people, ultimately, see people's potential. I know that's part of your chapter as well, the potential. So I'll let you continue. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but I wanted to share that thought.
No, I totally agree. We need to learn how to deal with people, how to deal with situations. We are taught about processes. Okay, we need to know the processes, but the people around you can speed up everything for you, or they can break the process. And if you don't know how to deal with them in the right way, you will never get anything done well or fast enough.
Correct. Everything will just turn and never finish, I guess would be the right way to say it.
Yeah, and probably you will end up, if you're a leader, you're going to end up always putting out fires. Okay, you're not going to start building. You need to like people, and people need to like you. In whatever business relationship you are, people need to like you. Liking you can be the difference of, for example, getting or not a loan in a bank that you need. If the manager doesn't like you, he will find any excuses not to give you that.
That's right.
Okay, and if they like you, they may go over their heads maybe to go and get it for you. Okay, and that's in any kind of situation we live in a company.
So anything else about your chapter? We've talked a lot about the efficiency machine. We've talked about people. I know there's people that are asking the question, the last part of your chapter says, and the wise man. And the obvious question is, are you the wise man?
No, I just try to be, okay? In the concept that I put there, it's a funny story. It happened when I was a child, actually. Okay, and I got this bubble gun, and those bubble guns came with phrases, theoretically smart phrases. Okay, so that one said, wise men ask themselves, stupid people ask others first.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, so that really, I was 9 years old, but I started thinking about that. Do I want to be a wise man? Yes, of course I want to be a wise man. I want to become a wise man someday. And it really hit me. And I really started thinking first, what will I do in that kind of situation instead of asking everybody else? So that helped me start deciding faster for things, analyzing situations and deciding faster. And also I became an introvert. Many people don't trust me when I say I am an introvert. Okay, I am an extrovert in some situations only. Okay, but essentially I am. So I keep a lot of thoughts to myself before that. And I know it began with that bubble gun. Okay.
It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked a lot about people already this morning, Paulo. I have to ask you, you think about what you learned early on and what you shared with us about the efficiency machine and how you had to learn to work some of those processes and strategies with people involved. Tell us about working with 9 global partners to author this book and how that felt to you. And I ask this with extreme sincerity because we already spent a couple of hours this morning with some of our other 8 in this case, with the 2 of us. But what was the best part of working with the 9 partners on this book?
You mean, how is it working with 9 other people that are also leaders, that are great in what they do and have their own opinion?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. And I think you answered the question with that statement.
Yeah, it's a very interesting exercise, and I can tell you, I love doing it. I really love this experience. I learn every single day from everybody else that is in this group. We exchange ideas. We always talk about new things, new ideas or concepts we believe, and we need to learn how to deal with each other because, some people are very calm when they stay their minds. Some people are very strong. And some of us in this group, I know, I can say that. When you first meet that person, you say, wow, that's a scary person. Okay, because he's always putting everything in a strong way. And when you get to know the person, you see the big size of the person is basically a big heart. Okay, and that's just his way of putting things. Others are always caring about the others, are caring about love and connection. And it's a great environment to be in.
It has been a lot of fun. And speaking of that, of course, we've told our audience, they've read it, they've seen it, they've heard it, but we're working on another book, plus another one after that. But right now we're focused on book 2. But what are you most looking forward to with book 2 and or book 3 at this point?
Yeah, the first book is basically what I said, the book Entre. Okay, what would we tell our younger selves to become an entrepreneur? Okay, book 2 is, okay, I want to become an entrepreneur. What do I do? What do I take care with? What are the things I need to be very careful? What do I need to pay attention to? You know, all of us, all of the 10 of us are entrepreneurs. All of us had our companies. All of us made a lot of mistakes. I know I had my share, okay? And I learned a lot from them. So in book 2, what I want is to teach things that in my chapter that I consider that are more important for people that are starting to pay attention to, so they will not waste time, resources, or even money in doing things in a wrong way. And for book 3, what we are looking for, what I'm looking for is to get, okay, with book 2, I learned to take my company to stability. Okay, so how do I make it thrive? Okay, so that's book 3, the ship. Book 2 is preneur, book 3 is ship.
Well, I love what you talk about with book 2 because it really does move forward on your theme from book 1, which is efficiency. So let's go back to book 1 for a moment. Tell me, what was your biggest challenge writing book 1?
Actually, I like to talk about things and to tell stories. It was to find out those moments in my life that I think were key moments, were very decisive, and to pick a few of them, to choose from a few of them. And writing is not a big deal, actually, for me. I've done it my entire life, but to choose what I was going to say, that was the big challenge.
And I know you've recently completed at least the first draft before any editing and whatnot of your second chapter, or second chapter in the second book. So I am looking forward to reading that. And I know we're partnering together to help, because obviously English is not your first language. And for our listeners, again, just a reminder, Paulo is in Brazil. So of course his first language is Portuguese. So, and specifically Brazilian Portuguese, right? It's not quite the same.
Yeah, I like to make fun with my friends from Portugal, saying that we speak here in Brazil the right Portuguese. And they like say, I do. But it's quite the original. We have the original, yeah, but we have 220 million speaking. You have 8 million, so.
Well, it's similar to our co-author Russ. I mean, I know he gives me a hard time that he speaks the Queen's English and I speak the right English. So, Russ, if you're out there listening, I love you, brother. Paulo, anything you learned from the other 9 authors that you want to share with our audience today?
You know, I like very much. We have Russ speaking next week. And his chapter is one of those that I like very much. I like them all, actually, but since he's the next one, yeah, I like the way he put things in his chapter, or how at some point he learned to use his connections, and he's a great connector. He's very natural in doing that. I, by myself, had to learn a lot of things, that those things come naturally for us. And the way he put that, he used his connections to help his business grow.
Well, and it's funny.
Way.
It's funny that you mentioned Russ, because he will always and forever, to me, be known as the guy in the back of the room. He knows what I'm talking about. If he wants to share that story, great. If he doesn't, for our listeners, he gave a great speech as the guy from the back of the room. So I look forward to talking to him next week. Now, Paulo, I can't let you off the hook that easily. You talked about next week and his chapter, but I've got to ask you the question that has been asked of me, and we've asked of our other co-authors. What was your favorite chapter in the book?
Oh, I guess it was Russ's. Okay, if I have to pick one, it was his chapter. Okay, there are many chapters there that I can say that we basically were aligned with our chapters, okay? But everybody had a different focus. And his focus was also about relationships and important things to learn. And he gave, in the end of the chapter, he gave a very comprehensive list of things to do,
right?
To start doing. And I think that that was a very great list, so people can use it to help starting their business.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to talking to him next week, and hopefully he might even bring that list up. Of course, we've set him up for that now. So, my favorite part of this book isn't necessarily an individual chapter. It's an individual line, and I say it every time that I'm interviewing someone or being interviewed, that the 10 of us truly are the gateway to the entrepreneurship world. We have different stories. You're going to use those stories at different times. One's going to resonate differently with another person than the first person. So there are differences in all of our stories, but the stories are, as stated on the back of the book, it's to help our listeners, our new entrepreneurs that are fearful or unsure, realize they really aren't in it alone, because it can be a very lonely world. Paulo, before we close, any final thoughts that you'd like to state for our audience?
Yes, please read the book. Okay, and give us our feedback. That's very important, because we know we did our best to give you some good information, some good lines to follow, but we need your feedback. So please, when you read the book, give us our feedback. We are all open. You can talk to us individually through
Absolutely.
Facebook, and we are open to that. Please, come on.
Absolutely. So for our listeners out there, a reminder, the book is now available for purchase and download on Amazon. Again, the title of the book, as you can all see if you're watching the video, but those that might be listening, ENTRE-Preneur-Ship. And there is a dash between entre and preneur, and another dash between preneur and ship. So it's ENTRE dash preneur, PRENEUR dash ship, SHIP. And of course, our website is that as well, ENTRE-Preneur-Ship with the dashes in there.com. Paulo, as always, my pleasure. I appreciate you joining me this morning to talk about your chapter. For those of you that are planning for next week, I will have Russ Sodden from the United Kingdom with me here in the United States at 8 a.m. Central Time in the US. That's 9 a.m. Eastern Time in the US. You can plan accordingly based on time zones. There is an event on our Facebook page to remind you of that. And until next week, I look forward to seeing you then and hearing your feedback on our chapters and our book. Paulo, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure being here.